whenever y'all are ready.
What do you think of practice this week, just the team's response?
Good spirited yesterday and today. I mean, really, we just, a couple coaches, as we called them up on Wednesday, were just saying, man, they've practiced hard. They've practiced with intentionality this week. And, not that I'm surprised at that, but you never know, right? So I've been proud of that.
After getting a chance to look back at film from Saturday, is there anything in particular that you wanted to address this week in practice? Anything you guys are trying to work on?
No, I just think, look, we didn't play good enough to win. We were physical. We played hard. They didn't play harder than us. They didn't play more physical than us. Just in the key moments, they played better than us. You look at the first half, thought we played really well on defense. They had like 25 yards rushing at halftime. We really stopped the run. Gave up one real touchdown drive. We gave them a short field on the other that they did a good job of pinning us and flipping the field, and they benefited from a short field. So offensively, we ran it for like 120, 130. So if you go in at halftime, it's like 120, 130 to 25 running the football. You got to feel really good about that. Our first drive, we had two major self-inflicted things that probably kept us from scoring a touchdown. So we had to settle for a field goal. 2 drives later, we have a 3rd and 1, we fall down. We end up not getting on a 4th down, so we get no points. And you can't do that. You can't do that early in the game when it's very evenly matched in the first half. Both teams are the same deal as OU. You look at the stats, it looks really similar. You look at the flow, difference is we're not finishing drives. And, in the second half, where they really got us was the 3rd quarter. I mean, they took it to us in the 3rd quarter. We never made a punt. We held them to field goals, but they held the ball. They held the ball offense. We went 3 and out. I'm not sure what we did the second drive, but it's 13-0 in the 3rd quarter. We hardly ever had the ball. When we did have it, we did nothing with it. When they had it, they grinded it out. And now you look up, 4th quarter starts and you're down 3 scores, and that's how quickly a game that's back and forth can get away from you. And so we didn't play good enough to win.
You don't want a Monday morning quarterback too much, but in watching the film, was it a lot of just missed execution? Was it saying, man, I wish we had called this instead of that? Was it a combination?
Yeah, great. No, fair questions. There's, like I said, there was 2 drives that I would want back. It would probably be the backed up drive when it was 3-0. They pinned us. We ran it 2 times in a row. It was 3rd and 1. At the time when I made the call, I thought it was 3rd and 2, and then realized it's 3rd and 1. We're running the ball well, just get the first down. We took a shot on a play that it had a chance to be a touchdown, but in the end of the day, we had to throw it away. And now we're punting back up. We give them a short field. So to me, that's on me. And then the first drive of the second half, we had a play we felt good about on P&10. We didn't execute it. And now you look up, you don't execute 1st and 2nd down, and you're in 3rd and 10, and you go 3 and out, and it's 17-10. So those 2 drives, if I'm looking at it for me, man, from an execution standpoint, the opening drive, I think we had 13-play drive. We have a 1st and 10. We have a kind of an RPO to RJ that is so open. I would have loved to have known if he's scoring or getting to the 5 or the 10 when we were around midfield. But we hand it off, get a +1. Then we get down there 3rd and 1. We're rolling. If we hand the ball to Levine, it's for sure a 1st down. He may drag the guy in the end zone. We try to throw a spot screen, then we take a -1. Those kind of things are simple, and it's just decisions that we got to be better at to execute and finish a drive. And then, like I said, 2 drives later, I remember if it was 7-3 or 14-3. We were running it up and down the field on them, and we have a 3rd and 1. And we caved down the right side. It's going to be a 5-yard gain at least, and Camar trips and falls. Now you're in 4th and 2. I don't know. Maybe I should have kicked the field goal there. Maybe I shouldn't have kicked the field goal the first time. All that stuff is what it is. But those are the kind of things that, you look at it, you move up and down the field, but you can't do those things. And then the turnovers didn't end up costing us at that point in the game. We were having to force it, but still, at the end of the day, it's 2-0. And, we're not getting off the field. We're not forcing turnovers on offense. We're not finishing drives, and that stuff goes together.
What do you think of Preston's just mentality this week as far as him bouncing back from that? Because he took it hard.
I think he knows, like a lot of guys at our positions, that we didn't play our best game, and we give them credit. They won the game. They earned it. We didn't. But he's been pretty steady the first 3 weeks of the season. And if you feel like you don't play your best and you have over 400 yards of offense against a good team, you feel like there's room to improve, though, because we have to now. We're getting into conference play. And I think his approach Tuesday and Wednesday has been really good. I think he's been really self-aware of where he can get better, just like I hope a lot of our guys have been. So I think he's responded well so far. Saturday will be a good opportunity for him to show that.
he took advantage of the opportunity that was presented a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago, had it again. Just what have you seen from him, and is he kind of maybe earned more carries moving forward,
Yeah.
even if LJ is healthy?
Yeah, if LJ's healthy and Rooster's getting back into the fold, like those guys are going to play. But Camar, I mean, you see he's got ability. He's got a burst. You know, he sometimes runs so his body's leans so forward, he just outruns his feet. It almost looks like and falls down. But he's doing things right off the field, and it's a great example. You know, he's going to class. He's working hard. His life is in a good place. Therefore, he's showing up on the field more. And we're going to need all three of those guys, and Levine and maybe even Belton and Junior and all. I mean, this year. But proud of Camar. Really proud of him. He's a great example of a guy who, you know, really spring, summer, and now has a really good body of work compared to when he first got here. And so proud of him more than anything because that's going to help him in life, but it's also going to help him play football more.
You're heading into conference play. Really only a month ago you found out this would be the last season in the American.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of other teams that announce conference changes. A big thing is in their last season, teams trying to throw them their best shot. You know, that teams are coming at them with a different mentality in that case. Is that anything you talked to the team about? Just mentioning that other teams may have it out for you guys?
No, I don't. It's a good narrative probably on the outsides. It doesn't matter to our guys. I don't know how much it matters in the real games. I don't know. You'd have to ask the other opponents. I think the bottom line is it's a conference game. It's Charlotte's first conference game in this league. We're still excited to be in the American this year, and we want to do everything we set out to do at the beginning of the year, and that's compete to put ourselves in contention at the end. You know, the bottom line is if we would have gone 4-0 or 0-4 or 2-2 in the non-conference, we'd be sitting in the same situation today, knowing we got to go beat Charlotte and try to get to 1-0 in conference play. And we don't try to make too much of that stuff internally.
What do you see from them defensively?
Man, you know, their two defensive ends are a problem. And, you know, I think 8 of their 11 starters are P5 transfers. You know, Clowney's brother is playing really, really good, number 3. And then 0 to the field has been both Alabama and Michigan. And those guys have juice. I mean, they got after Florida. They got after Maryland. They're a real problem rushing the passer. And then inside, they're massive. I mean, they're like 380. And, I mean, they're big dudes that are hard to move. And I think it's the same with our D, right? Like, if you have a really good D-line, it makes your whole defense better. So I think their D-line can really get after the passer, maybe as good as anyone we've seen, the 2 D-ends. But those big guys in the middle help slow down the run, free up the linebackers. They're playing with a lot of confidence on defense. You go to the Swamp and hold Florida to 1 touchdown. You know, they were obviously beating Maryland at the half. Just a really good unit playing with a lot of confidence. But the main thing that really concerns you is those 2 D-ends. 2 D-ends like that can change a game.
Offensively, they kind of use that 2 quarterback system,
Yeah.
although it looks like Jones is maybe doing all of it a little better than maybe expected. Just what have you seen from their offense, and especially preparing to face a couple quarterbacks?
Well, it's a real challenge when you got 2 quarterbacks you have to prepare for. You know, because yes, Jones has a lot of juice. He looked really good last week. He throws he throws it well. And so he's explosive, and a quarterback like that can change the dynamic of a game. But you got to prepare for both of them because they've shown they're going to play in both games. So now it's almost like you're preparing for 2 different offenses, 2 different style of players, a really good passing quarterback, a guy who can really beat you with his legs but throw it as well. And their tight ends are really good players. They do a great job in the screen game. They do a great job in the QB run game. So that'll stress you, you know, as a defense, because when you have a quarterback that we've said it before is like an eraser. I mean, that you can do a lot of things right and be wrong. That's tough. That's stressful.
It's a similar offense to Maryland last year. I think Mike Miller being coordinator there now. Is there anything you guys have been looking at with your game as Maryland last year that you can bring in this year?
I'm sure Coach Simons has looked at everything. The good thing is, you know, it's a new staff, a new program. This is Charlotte we're playing. And so you have 4 games to see what this year's identity is versus, you know, their a year ago. So I think what they're doing is they're getting better each week. You know, they've gone to the Swamp, they've gone to Maryland. Like I said, they led Maryland at half. I mean, the way they played Florida, and so it's like they're battle tested, kind of like we are too. And the thing we hadn't even talked about, they've been really sound and solid on special teams. Like they've been solid. So
Any injury updates? You can J.O. Crossley?
yeah, I'd say J.O. and Crossley are questionable game time. You know, they're not worse off than they were a week ago, but it's also one of those things that's just kind of lingering. So I'd say those two guys. I'd say LJ's more optimistic than he was a week ago, but he's still not 100%. Teddy Knox should be back this week, which will really help us on teams and at wideout. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else you guys are thinking about. Yeah, I'd say those are the main guys, and I'd say when I say questionable, probably 50-50.
Do you look at the wide receiver room after 4 weeks and maybe trim it a little bit? I know we talked a little bit about that post game.
Yeah, I think the challenge there that's really hard is all really 7 of those guys deserve to play. They're good enough players. They've earned it. They've worked hard. But there is something to getting in a rhythm, right? And so that's a fine line. No, I'd say the other thing is because those guys, if we run 80 on that given average, 80 snaps a game, everybody's playing 40 and 40 or 50 and 30, guys won't break down as much as the year goes on. But there is something to slowly defining roles a little bit more. And I think that, 4 games in, offensively, defensively, teams, we have a better idea of our identity, what it needs to be, what it should be, what we have in the run game, the pass game at QB, all those things to where we feel like we can try to define the roles a little bit better as you get into conference play and get some consistency. So all those guys will continue to play. How we do it may tweak a little. But when you go back and look at the film, in the game, I thought that we didn't get open in the one-on-ones as well as we had hoped. And in some cases we didn't, but really we won. We got to give them chances more and stuff we normally do. We're missing just a little bit. And but it's a good question. It's a good point.
Added Ja'Kai to the depth chart this week.
Yeah.
What have you seen from him getting back in shape? And what is he at? I know he's listed as the backup center, but also as a possible guard option.
Yeah. So here's what with Ja'Kai, because he had that spring off, he gained a lot of weight. So when we finally looked at it, when he got here in fall camp, we realized it's just too heavy. I mean, Ja'Kai's a really good player, played a lot of games. So what we've decided, he's got a redshirt year still. So he can play in full regular season games. And so the hope is that we can do that. And he's getting in better shape as the year goes on. But if he had a full offseason to get himself back into the playing shape he was in for next year, we feel like that could be huge for him and for us. But now that so we intentionally didn't want to burn those games in the non-conference if we didn't have to. Now here we are, especially with J.O.'s injuring some things, and Logan's doing a good job at left guard. He could be our backup center, but maybe you take something off of him. So Ja'Kai, I think, we got 8 games, he can play in 4 of them and still save that year. So I don't know if he'll play each week, but he's going to become more available when we need him through conference. And then, with the rule the way it is now, the postseason doesn't count. So you get 4 of the next 8, and then you can play in however many you got on the back end. And so that's kind of the plan there.
And then just lastly, I know a lot of jokes were made about how many Miami guys you brought in. Obviously, a lot of guys came in with other coaching relationships. Charlotte is a little St. Francis of the South with the number of guys that Biff brought in that he knew. What does that do when you're bringing in a ton of transfers, but there's already kind of some gelling with them and some members of the coaching staff?
Well, I think there's a lot of continuity and belief. Like, all those guys didn't go there because they don't believe in Biff. And I remember when I think I was at Auburn, went by and recruited Pips High School. It's crazy, kind of small world. And, so he had been in that high school world there in the DMV where it's a lot of good private school players for a long time. No different than people on our staff, like, say, Coach Hall, who knows Dallas well and stuff. So, obviously, when he got the job, he had all those connections and relationships, but a lot of those guys wouldn't have showed up if they didn't like him, believe in him, know him, trust him, or have some familiarity with him. And so I think that gives them a lot of confidence when you got that many guys coming in from all different places in year one to trust and believe in what him and the staff are doing. And I think that's why they play really, really hard. You can always tell about a team like, man, they play hard. They play hard for 4 quarters. It don't matter if they're ahead, behind, they just play hard. And I think that's why they're getting better.